Good evening. This is Tuesday night, August 23rd, 2022. It's a Tuesday evening. Every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 Eastern Daylight Time, I facilitate this A Course in Miracles meeting. And during it, anyone can raise their hand, ask a question, or ask a question after the meeting is over. And it's being recorded, and then I'll stop the recording, and those that want can stay and chat. And also, if a person would like the 4-page for advanced forgiveness document that I composed using A Course in Miracles and Gary Renard's info, they can private message me on Facebook under Glenda Carlin Busick, B-U-S-I-C-K, B-U-S-I-C-K. And also you can get on an email list if you want, where I send out a weekly email talking about what I'm going to discuss in case you want to read about it beforehand. So welcome everyone. And I love to address everybody as what you are. And for these few years that we've been doing Zoom, I've been addressing everybody as Son of God. But it's finally dawned on me, there's only God. Like in lesson 183 says, there's only God. That's, I want his name, God's name, to be my only thought, my only word, my only wish, the only sound that means anything to me, the only thing I desire to see. And when I look out, really everything is God, because there's only God, omniscient, ever present. There's nothing but God. What only in a dream can we make up the opposite of God, and that's what we've done. This is why we're waking from the dream of separation. That's why we're studying A Course in Miracles, and some of us practice parallel truths. I practice Dzogchen Buddhism as well. So welcome, but it's holy. Oh, wait, it's Barbara. Holy God. Edward, Holy God. Nance, Holy God. Leon, Holy God. Lynn, Holy God. Lee, Holy God. Shaban, Holy God. Kareem, Holy God. Teresa, Holy God. And Ryan, I can only think that his name is Ryan. We're trying to mute here. But I'm not doing really good. Ryan, would you please mute yourself, please? Ryan, God, Rennie, God Gonzalo. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And tonight's topic is, not the right exact thing I put in the email, but is cultivating silence. And per Jesus, God dwells in silence. So it's huge that we're developing some stillness, silence in the mind. But I want to clarify how this talk came about tonight, because I did really write that in the email. And part of what I do is talk about my experiences, what I'm studying, hoping any given sentence or anything could help one of you or anybody, help save you years off the awakening process, or make even a day lighter or happier or more satisfying. Is I've in my email that I sent out since from 2014 to March of 2019, that's 5 years, over 5 years. I practice the advanced forgiveness that's in that document, where I look past your body, each person's body, to the clear, invisible light of spirit that's there, thinking of you, each person as spirit, or a holy son of God. And also practicing the course, etc. And Jesus says what's happened is we've imprisoned our arc of light. It's like the middle of an onion. And the onion layers are all these layers of judgment, of deciding something's good and bad, liking or disliking something, judgments and interpretations that our brothers are not holy, whatever the situation is, reacting angrily, irritatedly, whatever the deal is, not in a holy fashion, that builds the onion, the layers of judgment around the arc of light. But thankfully, there's ways we can purify our mind of thoughts of separation from God. And tonight I've got 12 of them I'm going to cover. But the main one that I did for years was this advanced forgiveness. And I would meditate on an arc of light. There's a meditation in the course. But what I want to get to is that my great ray light was released and would come in and out, and has been coming in and out since March of 2019. But I pretty much, because I had no one as a teacher or guru or anybody to help me, I thought I'd maybe made it. But it's not true. Awakening, it can happen to some people instantaneously without any purification process, without any meditation, without any yoga, experiential yoga practices, subtle energy practices. It can happen, but it wasn't going to happen to me. I was a hard nut to crack. I needed a whole group of things to help me. And that's what I shared. But then I, by fate, was led to Dzogchen Buddhism and this Lama Surya Das. And through his group, we chant and do prayers with a daily meditation that's about an hour. And he has written, like, I don't know, 11 or 12 or more books where he's talking about what Jesus is talking about, awakening the mind, opening the heart to the spirit that we are. So I started practicing these things. And what's happened lately is, and if you had told me years ago that I was going to talk about chakras and the subtle light field that's within the body, I would have said, you're crazy. But here's the thing. The body is an image in the mind. So as the mind is illumined and purified of these thoughts of separation, the body gets illumined. And they're not probably scans or MRIs. They show these chakra centers. So the last week or so, I would feel these chakras rotate. I'm not kidding. They're light centers, subtle light centers within the form. And it made me, and when I'd meditate, the great ray would come in and go out. Like I tell you, it does, and it lightly shakes my head, or I never know what it's going to do, when in the rhythm of it coming in, top of my head and going down through my feet and then circling to come back. What's going to happen in the movement, in the form? I don't care. I just let it be. I let it happen. But as I'm aware and sensitive now to this light of the great ray, I became aware that there was a straight, only way I can describe it is there's like a straight column of light that connects these chakras. And there's 7 of them. And I did what I'm asking you all to do, which is research chakras, and look on the internet for images of them, because, so here's what I wanted to say. So I realized I had 2 light things going on, the great ray, and I'm not kidding you, there's a second, this straight column of light that was connecting from the crown chakra, which is a chakra above the head. Then there's a third eye chakra, there's a throat chakra, there's a heart chakra, there's a chakra right, I forget, it's an inch below the navel. There's a chakra at the genitals. Then there's a chakra at the base of the spine. But there was like a straight column of light. So, and I recognized, so I had these two light things going on. So I thought, well, this is unusual. I've not read anywhere in this Lama Surya books that he's talked about really 2 of these light centers, the great ray, and I don't want to misrepresent what I'm saying to you all. So I actually texted him and said that I don't want to mistalk. And is it this common? Or I didn't say use the word common, but here's the thing. He replied, in essence, it's not that normal for most people to have the great ray and these chakra light centers. And that's why I'm wanting to bring up about, we still meditate using the great ray and invisible light, but it's maybe easier, I don't know, for you to open up to Holy Spirit and ask and read information about the chakras and visualize their light, because it's a subtle energy light field that radiates throughout every cell. It does it too. Okay, so he wrote, because see, I'm asking him, I don't want to misstep what I'm saying to you guys. And here's what he said. He said, people usually benefit normally not so much from an experience that I talk about, but they benefit from preparation work. Now, preparation work can mean that you're integrating advanced forgiveness in your life, turning your day over to Holy Spirit, and meditating. See, all those are prep work and background. And then he said experiential yoga. So in the email, I looked up experiential yoga, because in a way, that's what is something I've been doing consciously, but didn't know I was doing it. And here's what that means. Experiential yoga is based on traditional tantric yoga. Tantric does not mean sexual. It is one of the main traditional branches of yoga that focuses on meditation, awareness, and eventually transcendence. See, in meditation, I'm focusing on this on breath work. There's different breath work that we do in the chanting, but anyway, tantric yoga is not an exercise, but meditation based. Some postures and breathing techniques are from traditional hatha, H-A-T-H-A yoga, are used to prepare, calm, balance the body, mind, and spirit. You see, what I realize has happened in those chants and prayers with this meditation group, we're doing some experiential yoga work. Then the next thing he said that's more helpful to people is to talk about this prana exercises, this subtle body exercises about the chakras. So I read about that, and here's a quote. And it's awakening through breath work. And see, in the chanting and praying, oh man, it's breath work. Taking a breath in, and on the out breath, say, if you watch my videos, I'm doing this. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm picking up things from the Dzogchen meditation, and this Lama Surya does once a week, typically on a Sunday, he does a meditation, and he'll do the in breath, and on the out breath, he goes, and he'll have us wallow our mouth around, and you go, Well, this is so significant. I cannot underscore the significance of breath work, where it becomes a circle, the in breath, and there's a pause, and then there's an out breath, but ultimately it's a circle. It's a completion that reflects the union with God and your wholeness, the breath work. But anyway, I'm going to read this. The easiest and fastest way to increase the prana, or energy or light in the body, is to change our breathing to affect the quality and quantity of air taken into the lungs. And see, I've realized that's what's happening. When I meditate by myself, man, I'm taking that in breath, the out breath, exhaling the and then I relax, I let go, I soften into the silence that we're going to talk about here. Prana or light is also absorbed in the nose, and that's what I find has happened to me. The nose has these subtle energy fields in it, and all your senses get opened up. When the third eye gets opened up, the crown chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, they all get open because the body is an image in the mind. As the mind is illumined, your body's illumined, but you want to practice on visualizing these chakras in the form, I think, if you want to consider it. If you're feeling tired, heavy, dull, or emotionally off balance, a few minutes of yogic breathing can energize, renew, and sustain you through your day or a challenging yoga class. And I'll talk to you all about, just take 3 breaths, take a breath in, hold it on an exhale, say, exhale as long as you can. Then take another breath, exhale, do it in sequence of 3. And then when you're doing that, go to your mind and just kind of imagine that clear, invisible light of the great ray, or just the clear, invisible light of all these chakras. That energy is here, that light. It's really light. It's your Christ Buddha light is showing up in a couple of places. And of course, in the non-dual union with God, there's none of this stuff, but that then is called Samadhi, and that's not what I'm talking about. The closest we want to get to is where you're in this silence and this peace and calm, and you're resting in that silence, peace, and calm. It's called luminous, clear mind. That's your Buddha, Christ, God mind. That's highest duality you can get. And then once in a while, you'll go into Samadhi, which is you're not aware of anything. You don't even know you've been there until you come back and you're aware of something that's here. You're aware of your body or your laptop. But anyway, there's a number of different breathing methods in yoga that can influence and affect your experience in relaxation and meditation. Having a stronger connection and control of your breath will give you a deeper attunement of your physical, mental, and emotional bodies and help anchor your awareness in the present moment. See, that's the deal. Where our awareness is getting awakened, where you're aware when your mind is wandering, where it's off thinking about something in the future, imagining something's going to happen in the future, or you're thinking about the past, that's recalling the past, or you're thinking about something that's going on now. I mean, in the present, that's not the now. You're examining something, you're controlling something, you're trying to figure something out. In meditation, we're not doing any of those things. We're not recalling, we're not imagining, we're not examining, we're not thinking, we're not controlling. And then the last one we want to do is rest, relax, rest into that light, merge with that light and relax. Well, anyway, that's how all this came up. So I want you to be aware there's another way that can help you awaken from this dream. If you're really wanting to wake up and save you years of work, it is through this experiential yoga in the subtle body chakra alignment. Okay, so now let's take a moment and we're going to just meditate for a couple of minutes. So if you want to relax, that's that taking that deep breath in and then exhale saying, ah, 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 let it go out as long as you can, and then take another deep breath in, hold it a second, and then exhale saying, ah, 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 and take another third breath in, and exhale saying, ah, on the out breath. Then it's called lion's roar, where you can put your head down, your arms out to the side, and just shove your head and your arms and your shoulders and go, blah, blah, blah. You see, the body is the home of ego. And if I'd known to do these things years ago, it would have shortened my time, because we want to relax the form because it's the home of the ego. So and every once in a while, you on your own can take that breath in, and on the exhale, say ah, to refresh. It's called refresh your mind. If you find yourself wandering, you can just come back to your breath, inhale and exhale, then elevate your eyes and look at this vertical column of light. Now, before we join with this light, it's so loving, pristine, and pure. You want to rejoin with it. I want you to see an altar in your mind, and on that altar, put the things that you think you need to be happy. Then see your body and those things disappear into the light. Now focus your attention on this clear, invisible, great ray. Above your head, there's a huge sun that's 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun you see out there. And that's symbolic of source. And Jesus tells us in the Course, a great ray connects us to eternity. So each of us has a great ray that comes straight down the middle of the head, straight through the middle of the body, down in, and we see it go into the ground to ground yourself. And you just kind of elevate your eyes to look at that light. And we want to, it's pristine, it's clear, it's invisible. But you can picture it as yellow. I call it like yellow cake batter, has a texture to it that's radiating out every cell of your body. We're re-merging, rejoining with it. But now, lately, I'm watching more aware of what I'm doing when I'm meditating. And there is a silence, a stillness in the mind that you can cultivate. And we're just going to fake it while we make it and visualize there's just total silence there. Now, of course, some thoughts will come and go. You just let them go like clouds in the sky. Don't attach and don't push any thought away. Just let the thoughts come and go. Bring your focus back to the center or where you're aligned through that vertical line that's from the top of your head down straight down the middle of you, that ray. And you're resting. You want to learn, you want to not learn, but rest is a verb. You can say to yourself, resting in that clear, invisible light. But I realize now I rest in the silence, in the stillness. And due to a couple of things that happened, this silence, which I'll describe later, has settled all through me. In that silence is the indwelling living God. And in that light is God, invisible, clear light. And it just brings tears to my eyes sometimes to just even realize God is right here, right now, if I'm aware of it. If I focus and think about it that way, which is faking it while you make it. In moments, holy instants, holy moments, you can merge, rest, dissolve in that invisible light or that silence. And when your mind wanders, it's no big deal. You know, some people in the Dzogchen group call it, some people think it's the walk of shame. Oh, damn, my mind wandered again. When's this going to stop? The point is, the mind never stops thinking, never stops wandering. What you learn to do is to bring your attention back to the center. And every time you do that, you are liberated. In a moment, a holy instant, you are free. Sometimes it could last a minute when you're staying in that stillness or that invisible light. But the mind will wander. Mine still does. It wanders. I just bring it back. That's called mindfulness. You're being mindful of what the heck's going on in your mind. And as you let these thoughts come and go in meditation, during the day, you're going to be able to more often recognize when the hell your mind's wandering during the day. Going into the future, thinking about something's going to happen tomorrow. You can plan, but not be attached to it, or recalling some memory from the past. That's the past. That's not the now. And you just bring your mind back. And I laugh now. I go, aha, ha, you know, my mind just went off into the past. I'm coming back to the now. This breath, this moment, this precious moment. And that's why the breath is important. Because a breath, just taking a breath in, you then recognize, oh, that's the moment right there. That's the holy instant. That's the stillness that Glenda's talking about. And then over time, I'm going to be talking about those other ways you can make this stillness gets longer. I'm going to be quiet here a minute. And if your mind's racing very much, just take your gaze from being above your head to like at the horizon type of angle. And you can breathe with your nose, not your mouth, and that'll calm these thoughts down. But you got to master your mind or you're not going to wake up from this dream. the mind's been running roughshod on us. We've allowed this to happen. This is a journey of no distance back to our Christ Buddha mind, God mind, that's here now, which is this clear light. What's so unusual, it just looks empty. If you when you open your eyes and look out, it's like air, like space, or called emptiness or clear light. But it's sure as heck not empty. It's full of everything. God and everything, and spirit and love. But it's too easy. It looks too simple to be true. But in reality, that's it. And our mind is projecting these images. They're floating out there on this clear light. They just float. If we let them go, they'll go on their own. We don't attach to them, they'll go on their own. It's like water. If you put some muddy water in a jar or a bucket and leave it alone, that dirt will settle right out of it down to the bottom. You leave your mind alone. Don't attach to these thoughts. Just let them come and go. Now, later, after meditation is over, you want to journal. If there's a specific event, persons coming up, that's Holy Spirit showing you things that you can practice advanced forgiveness on later. You don't do it now because we're not doing thoughts. We're not doing things now. We're letting things just come and go, and you're resting. You're just being, sitting in that light, feeling that light. See, it surrounds you and goes all through every cell of you. So sitting in that chair or on that sofa, that light, that's why I call it like yalla cake batter, to give you a texture or a thickness to sit in, to rest in. It has a thickness because trying to rest in clear light, I had difficulty doing that. I couldn't do it. I had to put a little yalla tint to it. Okay, when you want, you can bring your mind back to this place. You can always practice this type of meditation anytime you want. And anytime during the day, you can just close your eyes and focus your eyes upward and go to the light in a heartbeat. Just be there in a two instances. And then come back to what you're doing in your life, because that's called integration. That's one of the steps we want to do, is integrate our practice into our daily life, not just right now. Now I'm going to ring the gong. So maybe if anyone kind of dozed off, this might bring them back. And also I've learned to bow. I bow to the holiness in every one of your seats, to the Buddha, the Christ, the God that's in every one of your seats. And also, we then give off any benefit we receive from this meditation: calmness, relaxation, peace of mind, stillness. We give it to all sentient beings to help them wake up from the dream. As we wake up, we help everybody wake up. That's what's so great about it, because there's only one mind. As Jesus says, as I think of you, I think of myself. Now, I want to actually quote from where Jesus says this, because this is huge. Because you think, well, yeah, God's there somewhere. I know God's somewhere. Is he in here? Is he out there? Where is God? Well, it's in chapter 18, section 1. Turn you to the stately calm within, where in holy stillness dwells the living God. You never left, and who never left you. So that's the deal. That's why these things I want to talk about, you're developing, as you purify your mind of thoughts of separation from God, you're developing more stillness, more silence in your mind, where God dwells. And what I want to share is, now when I meditate, if you see, now picture, we're each doing whatever we need to do to meditate. but I would look at the light, the invisible light or a colored light. But now there's that silence. I rest in the silence because I know God dwells there, the living God, Jesus says. That made a big impression on me. So for the last couple of weeks, I've rested in the silence. And as I did that breathing in and out. And picture when you're meditating, I'll lay down flat or kind of elevate. It's called in a beach chair position where your back is up a little bit and you're kind of laid back. But I'm relaxing and taking that breath and sinking is the verb that I sinking deeper and deeper down in the silence and saying, I know that's God. And as a result, let's see, what is happening, I'm feeling that silence, not just in my mind and God's presence, it's throughout my form. It's now, and why it's now through my form, here's what happened to bring it from my mind to feel the body's the image in the mind, but I'm here experiencing my own body. To bring it into the body is, so remember when I texted that Lama Surya Dawson asking about the chakras and the Great Ray, I explained that I saw the chakra deal. It was a straight column of light, but the Great Ray was coming in and going out. It was circulating. That's a big deal, to circulate light. So he wrote me what did he write me? He told me, circulate the energy or light in mutual reciprocity. It's called yin and yang style, not just in one direction. So if you, I'm going to read this. It might be in my email. I'm going to read this because I can't write like this man, where he talks about the chakras. Because see, this is what I want you to visualize. I want you to visualize all this, if you want to. I was going to put this, I marked where the, all righty, here we go. This is a book called Awakening to the Sacred. Now that sacred means the sacred now moment, the sacred God presence, the sacred Buddha mind, Christ mind. See, it's a placeholder. Christ mind, Buddha mind, God mind. They're really placeholders for God. That's the deal. Here, I want to read about these chakras, okay? Because when he said circulate, I had to come here and read about this. In Hatha, H-A-T-H-A yoga, breath control and various physical postures are used to balance the 7 energy or power centers of the body known as chakras. This is done in order to awaken the body's central energy source. See, there's a light, there's an energy. It's here in the middle, down the middle of you. No, and he's calling the body's central energy source is known as Kundalini, or the coiled serpent. Unawakened Kundalini energy is said to remain dormant at the body's first chakra, like a coiled up spring or snake. The practice of yoga awakens and channels this energy through the various chakras until it reaches its highest center in the crown chakra, found above the very top of the head. So it's a big deal to get that Kundalini open, that it's going to shoot light up, straight up through you to the genital chakra, the navel chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra. Now he starts to describe, and then it said, listen, and then look what it does. The Oh, well, he says that Kundalini energy reaches the crown chakra found above the very top of the head. The first chakra in the body where Kundalini resides at rest is located at the very base of the spinal column. This chakra is drawn as a four-petaled lotus. This energy vortex forms the basis of our survival instinct, our fight or flight response, as well as fear and aggression. And remember last week I talked about, somebody asked, well, how much ego do you really need? You need just enough so you won't walk out in front of a car. I mean, we're not going to do anything stupid here, even though our body's a projection and image in the mind. We're not going to put the body in harm's way. The second chakra, found at the genitals, is depicted as a lotus with 6 petals. It is the seat of sexual energy, reproductive forces, and other forms of sensual gratification and nurturance. The third chakra, which is situated below and behind the navel, is frequently imagined as a whirling lotus with 10 petals. See, I would feel that thing whirling right there at my navel, and I'd feel my heart expanding, but I didn't know what was going on. These chakras were opening up. And this whirling navel chakra, this is the power and ego center from which mastery can be derived. See, you're mastering your mind, and you're going to then, this energy will be used to radiate light, Christ mind, Buddha mind out of your every cell. The fourth chakra is the heart chakra, sometimes called the heart lotus. This is the center of compassion and love. Now, you will not be able to awaken from the dream of separation until your heart chakra opens, till you have empathy, and that's in one of these 12 things, and compassion for your brothers. We can't just look out there and go, well, this is all a dream. My brother's not really there, and not have, that's the opposite of what Jesus wants us to do. There's either love or a call for love. We want to have empathy and compassion because our brother is in ignorance. And a bunch of the time, I'm still in ignorance. Agreeing with ego, doing something silly. It is usually seen as a blue lotus with 12 petals. That's the fourth chakra, the heart chakra. The fifth one, which is found at the throat, has 16 petals. Our longing for higher ideals, vision, and magical creativity stem from this transcendental center. The sixth chakra, sometimes called the third eye, and that's got to open too, because that's Christ's vision. That is Christ's vision coming out of your form. It's located behind the forehead, between the eyebrows, up about 1 inch. Pictures of this energy center show only 2 petals. This is the wisdom center. The third eye represents unitary vision. See, that's the single Christ vision, bringing together and resolving the dualistic, divisive vision of our 2 normal eyes. The 7th chakra and topmost energy center. And see, I felt this, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I felt this. The 7th chakra is the topmost energy center. It's found at the very top or crown of the head. It's frequently depicted, listen to this, as 1,000 flower-like petals, 1,000, resting flat above the top of the head. This is the center of cosmic union or enlightenment. When one reaches full awakening, this chakra blossoms and is activated like a starburst. Now, what he's saying here, when one reaches full awakening, that's why each week I kind of try to talk to you. Don't have premature ejaculation, meaning you think you're home. This keeps opening to deeper and deeper and deeper levels of silence, of peace, of love, of becoming aware of your true self and your brother and union with everything. It just gets deeper, deeper, and deeper. But he says, when one reaches full awakening, this chakra blossoms and is activated like a starburst. To me, it looks like a fountain pouring downward over the head. And see, that's what I experienced. It was like a fountain. It was like not water, but I knew it was just light streaming off the top of my head down my face. My face is hot, real hot. It's prickly. I mean, it is hot. There is just, it's lit up. I mean, That's this crown chakra. The yogic image is of the serpent-like power of Kundalini raising up, pulsating through the energy channels of the body until it finally results in energy blossoming out of the seventh chakra and raining down all over the practitioner, filling him or her with a sense of life, light, completeness, and pure goodness. The energy then is recycled back into the body to be used again and again, an inexhaustible pure source. When you tap into this cosmic source, God, blessings, energy, bliss, and joyous wisdom course through you. Wow. So here's what happened. So he wrote me, can you circulate that chakra light? And I went, I don't know. I'm going to try. So what I did, I see, you can visualize this too, faking it while you make it. I picture that crown chakra, that light is just pouring off the top of your head, right? Well, with your breath, like, let's see. Now see, you can take it both directions. I've taken it where on the out breath, see the I picture, I'm saying and I'm bringing the crown chakra light down. I actually say down past the third eye, throat chakra, the heart chakra, the navel, the genitals, to the Kundalini. And then as it turns, I'll take the in breath. The in breath propels it. Then you picture propelling that light up from the Kundalini, the base of the spine, up past the genitals, the navel, just count them all. Navel, heart chakra, throat, third eye, crown chakra. And then what I want you to get to is where you can circulate that light. You could take it from the Kundalini up, then have it turn at your crown chakra and come down, back down them all, have it turn at the Kundalini. And that's what happens now. Without very much thought, after I practiced a couple of times, it just circles. It becomes instantaneous because that's natural light. That's your natural Christ Buddha light as well. It's way cool, you guys. But and these 12 things I'm talking about, it's like a bag of tools that you're using, and you've got some favorite tools that you all like to use, but I'm just going to go through these tools that I practice. That Jesus advanced forgiveness. I'm not kidding. That's the most powerful one. It was one of the most powerful ones. Thinking of my brother as spirit, as Buddha, Christ, but now thinking of you as God, each one of you as God. Turn each day over to Holy Spirit. Then I set up what's called the Bell of Mindfulness. I learned that from Thich Nhat Hanh, a book that he wrote, where it's called mindfulness. Like some of the friends at Dzogchen LA group, they teach at UCLA has a group that's called mindfulness. They teach mindfulness. Isn't that great at UCLA? And Timo and Tina teach there sometimes. But the thing is, we've got to remind ourselves to bring our attention back to the mind to recognize, what the hell am I thinking about my brothers and myself? So the Bell of Mindfulness I set up was a certain sound, the sound of a car going by, or an image of a car, just a car passing. But I used every form, a mailbox, a tree, the street, as a bell of mindfulness to have me take a breath in and go to my mind, to the clear light, remember that I'm holy, and what was I thinking? And if I wasn't thinking a holy thought, I damn thought a holy thought about my brothers, about my immediate family. Those are the ones we least practice on, our immediate families, our loved ones, neighbors, those people. Bell of Mindfulness. Meditating with a group for an hour a day. I'll swear, it's an exception if somebody can wake up without learning how to meditate and calming their mind, where especially this Dzogchen LA group, or Dzogchen in general, that Lama Surya Das's meditations, is they meditate with their eyes open because they want to get so they let images come and go, which are thoughts, but they're not attached to them. And then if you close your eyes, you're seeing the thoughts and images and emotions go in your mind. As you let them come and go, it's easier then when you open your eyes that you let these things come and go. So meditating with a group for an hour a day, it can be a Zen group, any group, incorporating chants and prayers. I have found with chanting and praying, it opened up my nose. It opened up my senses. They get awakened. They get awakened, just like everything. Your mind is awakened, your heart's open, the senses are awakened. Your awareness becomes awakened. From ordinary awareness to awakened awareness means you can just take like kind of a little gasp in and look at something like, oh, look at that. And you kind of looking at the clear light that's going all around like a plant or whatever you're looking at. You practice awakened awareness once in a while. This is a whole bag of tricks. Letting go of the person you used to be. Every time a thought comes that you're a husband, a partner, a office worker, or labeled a son, whatever your labels are, that's culture, that's the egoic self. We don't give up that, but yet we're not attached to it, and we look past it to our Christ, Buddha, God nature. But a main one I practice is lesson 183 about practicing God's name, repeating God's name. On, like, I'll just look out and say God, God, God to everything, like the chair on my patio, the table, the laughing Buddha statue, the flower, the porch, the everything, God, God, on my sliding glass door, my laptop. There's only God, each of your forms, there's only God. That's all there is. There's nothing else. We made all this other stuff up. And what I wanted to read was a section in this Lama Surya Das's Awakening to the Sacred. Jesus isn't the only one that thinks there's only God. Now, granted, most of the time Buddhists don't talk about God. But Lama Surya Das, he will, and he writes about God. And I heard him in a talk at an ashram in the Bahamas saying, somebody asked him, well, how do you live each day? Actually got down to asking him, how do you live each day, basically? He says, when I remember, I am God. When I forget, I serve God. I am not kidding you. That's what he said. Because see, there's only God. It's not being hypocritical or egotistical for you to say this. That's ego thinking. There is only the omnipresent God. We made all this other stuff up. So here's what he writes in Awakening to the Sacred, page 364. Oh, what happened was, he writes, it's about silence and quiet. See, this is what we're developing by all those things I talked about. Every time you stop your mind, like a bell of mindfulness, and bring it back to ask yourself, what the hell am I thinking? That pause is a gap between thoughts, and that pause, every time you do it, it gets longer and longer and longer. And every time when you stop and think of your brother as a son of God, that's a pause, a sacred pause. That's a gap between thoughts. All these, every time you stop and want to say, God, 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 that's a pause. You're developing silence and stillness in your mind, a habit. You're integrating the course into your life. Well, anyway, here's what he said. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to become so quiet, so still, so silent that we could hear the sacred presence? And see, the sacred presence is silence. That's what you're going to live, what you listen for. In India, there's an entire sect of silent yogis, silent, S-I-L-E-N-T yogis, called M-A-U-N-I Babas. The word Mani, M-A-U-N-I, means silence. And for these yogis, that means they're just practicing this breath control, the light, they're looking at those energy centers within their form, the light. Mani means silence. And for these yogis, this silence is their life practice. what he's talking about here is their whole life, they don't say a damn word. They don't. Okay, because we're going to have a course. What do you call it? Chore, not chore. Something I want you to do is just take an hour someday and be silent. And I'm going to read from this book about what he says by being silent. The word mani means silence. Oh, wait, this is a life practice. I once asked one of them, whose name was also Mani Baba, why he kept silent. In reply, he pointed to his disciple, a teenage boy who had not yet undertaken the vow of silence. Oh, the teenager told me that Mani Baba communes only with God. I asked, well, what about people? What about birds? What about animals? This is Lama Surya Das asking this kid. The boy said that Mani Baba had so totally learned to speak to God that for him, talking to anybody was like talking to God in silence. See, that's what we're getting at. That's what you'll ultimately awaken to. Everybody's God. Everything's God. This reminded me, and it continues on his quote. This reminded me of Surdas, S-U-R-D-A-S, comma, the 16th century blind poet, I'm going to repeat that, was a blind poet of India, whose name I was given, this is Lama Surya Das talking, I was given by my first guru, this is page 4, page 5, Neem, N-E-E-M, Parola Baba. Sir Das's, S-U-R-D-A-S, Sir Das's devotion, this blind poet, was so complete that was said to be blind to everything but God. He kept a silent vigil of inner vision. Practices like silence help, period. Practices like silence help holy men and women focus more intensely on the spiritual path and the meaning to which they are dedicating their lives. When the Mani Babas of India, for example, stop speaking, they are intentionally limiting their focus in order to intensify their devotional practice. They then later expand their focus so they can speak to God in everyone, using the universal nonverbal language of the heart and soul. Prayers are heard in all languages, period. The divine spirit of love hears the silence of our sincerity and intentions, regardless of whatever noisemakers and party hats we may don. The one quality that sets apart the great prophets of the ages is their ability to listen and hear divine or sacred presence. So what I'm asking you to do and contemplate, it's huge that you can develop any stillness or silence in your mind based on these practices. Let's see if I've gotten anything. I usually make some big notes of things I want to. All these things are I want to repeat this, and turn you to the stately calm within, where in holy stillness dwells the living God you never left and who never left you. Holy Spirit takes you gently by the hand and retraces with you your mad journey outside yourself, leading you gently back to the truth and safety within. He brings all your insane projections and the wild substitutions that you have placed outside you to the truth. Thus, he reverses the course of insanity and restores you to reason. So in your awakening, this is what I found. Holy Spirit takes you on a journey back, retracing retracing your mad journey outside yourself, and he brings insane projections to your mind and your wild substitutions, and asks you to forgive these things. That's what he's doing. He's retracing your mad journey, because these are layers of judgment that are holding your arc of light prisoner. So you all can do this, or you wouldn't be here listening to this kind of talk. You're wanting that, but it's got to be integrated. That's one thing I realized, that I had sticky notes around. I carry around my pocket, clip them on my purse, my mirror, my kitchen sink. I'd be careful when I was driving. You want to be very alert when you're driving, but practice during the day. Integrate these truths. Now, anyone got a thought or a comment? Now, I remember something that Edward brought up to me that I'm gonna ring the gong again. I love that gong. Some people follow that sound right into the stillness and dissolve right there. Now, what Edward and I were talking about before class started today, Debbie Zimmerman, who was facilitating our Dzogchen LA group, meaning the chants and prayers, each facilitator generally brings up some conversation, some talk. She had a book from one of these enlightened beings talking about, they're called 3 vital points of Dzogchen. The 3 main things they do to help purify their mind, to awaken to their Buddha self. The first one's called cut through. It's called Trechod, Trechod, I think is how you spell it. And what it means is, I pictured it, I've practiced it. I picture, like, I'll take Lynn's image. I take just a diagonal cut right through her head and her shoulders. That's a cut. And it opens up her form, and there's just clear, invisible Christ, Buddha, God light right there. That's called cut through. You cut, it's another way of practicing advanced forgiveness. But Dzogchen Buddhism uses it, cut through. Second is to realize this clear, invisible light, that you're faking it while you make it, that you see and that's there. It's also luminous, like the sunlight. It's just luminous. It's just radiates. It's luminous. It sparkles, so to speak, luminous. But that mind, that Christ, Buddha, God mind, it's making up. It's using the power of the Christ, Buddha, God mind to make up all these images and projections, right? That's what's doing all this. We're doing it. So all these things, because the God mind makes them up, they're really God. Now, granted, some of these things, the spirit is God in the absolute. In looking out in the world, you go, well, there's that machine gun and that war. Well, that's why we're cutting through that, and we're looking through that to this natural perfection of this luminous, clear light that's here. But second, a vital point is to remember that forms dance. All these forms, our body images, all the trees, everything, these forms dance or float like clouds in the sky on this clear light, guys. This clear light that's here is stable. It doesn't change. It doesn't move. It's stable. What's floating and coming by are our emotions, where we cause a wave on that ocean, or we cause a wind, a turbulent wind on that clear light mind. But it's not the God mind that's being changed. It's these emotions and images we're projecting. But they dance on this pure God mind. That's the second thing you want to, that's a vital point. The third one is to recognize, to let things come and go and don't grab onto them. And Edward was talking about that too. And Dzogchen really, we were talking about if they should play this up more. It's a big deal to me, because I'll pray. One of my prayers is let me be beyond attachment and aversion to friends, enemies, and strangers, which means attachment means friends, enemies, and strangers. Even your loved ones, you're attached, you're grabbed onto them. Granted, somebody passes, you grieve, and you don't, we're not going to say, what the heck, what's wrong with you? That was just an illusion. No, no, no. We do the grieving process, however long it takes. We do all that while we're practicing forgiveness. But the bottom line is, these images, really, we want to be able to let them come and go in our mind during meditation. And when your mind is looking out, it's one of the vital points. And it's one of the things that helped free me to the awakening that I'm at now, that meditation, Dzogchen meditation called sky gazing, of picturing like that blue sky, and that these clouds are just coming and going. If they come and go on their own accord. Well, these thoughts, images, and emotions, they'll come and go if I leave them be. If I leave them be and don't mess with them, grab onto them or push them away, they'll ultimately leave. So anyway, that's the 3 vital points that we were talking about earlier. Edward, any thoughts or comments before I stop the recording? I so appreciate everybody being here, and we're going to practice advanced forgiveness before we stop. Hi, Gonzalo. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I got a big, again, deepening time-saving element and I took that last week when you were talking about the forgiveness work that we do in our minds is not personal in the grand scheme of what we're trying to accomplish, which is awakening back to our true self, which is one. And I think part of the trap that I and so many of us have fallen into time and time again, because the ego is so deceptive, and the ego movie of my individual stories that I'm so damn guilty about and fearful about and unworthy about feels like it's separate and apart from everybody else's story. And that's where the difficulty comes in. And it's so important that we practice. Again, we don't snap our fingers and get it automatically. We practice it constantly. Use that powerful imagination that we have to practice, these light meditations to bring us a sense of, an image of, a visual of, some sort of structure in our minds to hold on to, a point of reference back to our true self. Because when we're looking at our personal stories that we're trying to forget, guilt, shame, unworthiness, all these things associated with that, and we think it's our story to fix or correct and somehow improve our personal identity self, we're right back in the boat. We're right back in the boat of the ego. So the important thing to think is to deal with the story, never run or deny it or fake it. But as we do that, to remember that our story is, in essence, the same story of everybody else. It's the ego that's fooled us into believing that we all have separate identities with separate stories and separate characters and individual families and cultures and all these things and events that happen, that some that, we're shamed and guilty about, some not. And it's such a deceptive, colluded mess, metaphysical, jumbled up mess that we have been delayed by. So it's so important that, remember, our story is everybody else's story, colored over by the ego's fractured perception, making it seem very separate. And all that complicated explanation is meant to say that what we do with our story is getting past everybody's differences and bringing us back to our original state of perception. And in other words, it's not personal. It seems like it's very intimate, the shedding and the personal blocks and unconscious guilt that we deal with. It seems like it's very intense and intimate, and it is on a emotional level. But ultimately, all of the personal differences that we tend to be hampered by and delayed by, they're delay tactics by the ego to keep us from our God-given state. So,
But what's wonderful is, see, that's recognition of what the ego mind's saying to you. That's you're becoming aware of that. So then you can, that's the letting go of that. You're remembering, I'm a holy son of God. I'm Christ Buddha. I'm God. That was just a thought. That's just a thought. I'm going to let that go. So you just, and right then there was a terrific sacred pause, and you let it go. And to be aware that everybody's dealing with the same thing. They're dealing with the same culture, the same thoughts. They're whatever they are, their body, their job, their family heritage, etc. But it's huge to be aware of that. And that's letting go of the person you used to be. It has to be dealt with. That's part where Jesus says, or he said, Lama Surya said about all, something said, maybe it was Jesus, it was Jesus, all your past journey, all these things, those have to be looked at and let go. So he's bringing, remember, I've talked about that in meditation, all these images will come floating by of thought after thought after thought. I'm to practice advanced forgiveness on them, seeing as spirit, cutting through them to see them as spirit, because I believe them to be a body. Right. So we watch TV, we believe actors are bodies. So it's really wonderful that you see that ego's doing that. That's one of the 12 things that you're letting go of, to remember what you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you. Any other comments here before I stop the recording? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, before we go, let's pick 2 people on the screen and practice Jesus's advanced forgiveness on them, which is thinking about them as a mortal spirit and not a body. You either can say all of it, or you are spirit, whole, pure, and innocent, all is forgiven and released, or you simply just look past their body to the immortal spirit that's there with them, right there past their form, like it looks like space, air, emptiness. It's God, Christ, spirit. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. I much appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording now.